Welcome back to On Rate Podcast. Another episode here. You have Elijah as well as Grant. We're going to get into a couple mostly football heavy topics today. We're going to start out with a coach we both love to hate, and that's Urban Meyer, and just kind of him going off the rails after his week one loss. I'm going to kick it off to you here just to kind of get your thoughts on Urban Meyer in his first game here in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I probably start a little bit farther than that. Just more of when he got hired to like the strength and conditioning coach that he tried to hire that was kind of related to a lot of was making like racial comments and such to players at black players at Iowa. He has not been off to the right foot overall with a lot of these things, and I think he's gonna end up being one of them guys that kind of comes to the league and tries out. Was a great college coach, tries out, the NFL, doesn't really work out that well for him, end up finding his way back, and definitely been a rough start. I heard he's been having quite a bit of trouble just kind of relating to players because, a couple of years back, he was, dealing with 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. Now you're dealing with grown men with two, three kids, family, couple
Millions.
mortgages, just bills, like to where you definitely have to. I feel you definitely have to address obviously a college team and NFL team two completely different ways. Most obviously more because NFL players getting paid, and I think overall he's struggling. I'll be shocked if he's not gone after this season. And I also say I wouldn't be surprised if he does not finish this season for some odd reason. He's always kind of seemed like a guy that when he was at Ohio, he was at Florida, started getting into some trouble, like off, kind of like off the field, had a heart condition, decided to kind of step down, but then joined College Game Day. The Ohio State job came up, and all of a sudden he felt better enough again to coach, even though he claimed he had a heart issue and went to Ohio State. Was there for 3 or 4 years. Some shit started going on off the field again. All of a sudden, he kind of decided that it was time to walk away from football. You know,
Yeah.
Jacksonville position opens up. Now he's all of a sudden good to go. So definitely has some baggage and definitely some things that a lot of people don't like about him. I'm not his biggest fan, but the stuff I'm hearing, it's definitely not surprising me at all.
Yeah, no, I forgot about some of the earlier things as far as the strength and conditioning coach and no, that I completely second everything you're saying as far as how you have to how you should go about addressing a difference between a young man, an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid who is striving to get to the NFL versus a guy that's anywhere from 22 to 32 who's already been in the NFL. Those are two completely different mindsets, two completely different expectation levels, and ultimately, you're gonna if you if you're in college and you're probably a couple thousand miles or at least a few hundred miles away from home, you're on a scholarship that could be revoked and took away from you at any point in time. You don't have much to really stand on as far as you don't have a degree yet, you don't have the money yet, you're not in the NFL yet. You're going to take a lot more bullshit from a coach or from any other person in that matter than you would as if you're in your mid 20s. You already have a house, you already possibly have your degree or a lot of a degree finished. You already have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars saved up in the bank. And that is, you're going to feel different about who's speaking to you in what way regarding that is, and also it all ultimately boils down to I'm not a trust factor, but uh, basically you can't just talk to me any old way, and
Yeah.
it comes down
Respect.
to respect. Yeah, you can't talk
Yeah.
to me any other way. It's respect at the end of the day, and we got to have that mutual decision, this mutual respect between us in order for any of this to work.
Yeah.
I also agree. I think he is much more of a college guy because similar to Harbaugh in the fact that they say that he's hard to be around for many of years, and that people kind of the bridge will get burned quicker with somebody like him. So you're not going to have a guy uh, last as long in that type of position in the NFL.
Yep.
Players are there for longer periods of time, and they're not, more or less, they're not at your beck and call like they would be in college. I do
Yeah.
agree with you. He probably will be back. Maybe I don't want to say that quickly, but I do ultimately see him being back in college because that's his world. I think he is a phenomenal college coach.
Oh
So I
yeah.
ultimately see him getting back into the college ranks sooner rather than later. Ultimately, that's where I think he wants to be, and I think he'll soon realize that after. I mean, his quarterback just had his first loss in a regular season ever. Urban Meyer doesn't have too many regular season losses under his belt as well, and I can all see this blowing up quickly. You got to make sure that Trevor Lawrence is taken care of and not just spoken to in any old way and kind of groomed. And if he's throwing 3 picks a game, I can easily see Urban Meyer going off the rails on him. And when that, they need to make sure they keep him protected as much as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great point right there too, because it's like, you when you can't really like chastise, I feel like certain players in the league, like the game is just too good and too like, there's more to worry about than to be spazzing off on like mistakes that player made, the previous game.
Yeah.
And I also think that like Urban Meyer, I mean, he's just more fit to like form a culture. I mean, I feel like the NFL, I mean, obviously like there's set teams that have a culture and you do gotta kind of set that up in the locker room and everything like that. But it's also like guys are just literally coming in and doing their job. So you're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like at this, like college is the scenario where people are like, they're playing, for the name on the front and, really just like playing for the school. I mean, going to that school because they love that school growing up. So now it's like, hey, I got my guaranteed money, sign my contract. And he's in a scenario now too where if he stands off on a player, I mean, all they got to do is go to higher up and be like, I mean, I'm not gonna play for this dude. Like, I want to get traded. You know, go back or go right at him. I mean, we've seen quite a few players. I mean, they're not scared to go right at their coaches, go right back at their coach if they are trying to chastise them or like embarrass them in any kind of way. So I think he definitely needs to kind of like tread a lot lighter. If everything we're reading is true, because I think there is like a difference between like guys being soft and like him just being like crazy. And I think he's definitely teetering like more towards just being kind of like crazy, just knowing who he is. You know what I mean? As far as like what we've heard about him and seen of him in the past. And you're right. I mean, he might be. I think he only lost like 8 or 9 games at Ohio State his whole tenure there. He might lose 10 games through 11 games this season, or 11 weeks of the season. So tempers are definitely going to they're going to start flaring. I mean, that's he's already spazzing. Like they didn't do well in the preseason. He was mad about that, but nobody cares about preseason. He's already upset over one game. It's like it's downhill from here. So
I agree, and this is just something that's popped up in my head as far as creating a culture. You hear that phrase more than anything, I think, in football. You don't hear that as much in basketball. I don't really pay attention to many other sports, but I only really hear that in football.
mm-hmm.
And I would agree with that. That winning teams do have cultures, but also you're not going to make a culture in Jacksonville. Like shit just won't happen. Like I can't. I think when I think of teams with cultures, they've been that way since before I was born. The Steelers have a culture. They've been that way since before I was born. You kind of think back in the day, the Raiders kind of had some form of a culture. Everybody has that. I don't. Every coach that the Lions hires, we hear about the culture they're going to bring in, and so I think some teams' culture is a losing culture. That is the culture, is that they're not winners. So at the end of the day, there's only so much things you can really do regarding, turning a team around that fast. So I think it's going to fizz out and burn down quicker than you think.
Absolutely. And I even say too, like, I mean, he obviously the positions that tend to be open most often are the teams that aren't doing that as well.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you went to Jacksonville? Like, I mean, how I thought about it when he chose Jacksonville, I'm looking how they literally just in the AFC Championship 3 years ago, like, were beating the Patriots and everything. A couple bad calls went the Patriots' way, and they ended up obviously winning that game. But I mean, they got rid of Leonard Fournette, they got rid of Jalen Ramsey, traded a lot of guys out of there. And that's just telling in itself. Obviously players can do things, put themselves in situations to get traded or cut or released. But like whatever's going on down there is just it wasn't already good to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a bad mixture. It's almost like mixing it's a bad mixture because, you got this coach from college trying to bring in this like no nonsense, you know what I mean? Just really in there trying to like create a like overtake what culture's already going on in there, and then the culture's already toxic. So it's really just, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like butting heads right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Second that. I think only time will tell. I think he definitely the clock is ticking for them now. There's no way he's here 2 years from now. I'm willing to bet
Yeah,
that.
I'll be surprised if he stays after this season. I do. I mean, they're a 3-14, 2-15 team. I'd be shocked if they even win 5-6
I
games.
agree. And all it really comes down to is if Trevor Lawrence don't want him there no more.
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence can go next week and say, I don't want this guy here no more. And he probably won't be here by Thanksgiving. He probably,
yeah,
yeah. So it's really, you got to keep one guy happy.
great. And what do you think though? Just kind of, maybe like next destination for him. Obviously USC, that's kind of been everybody's kind of making jokes on Twitter and social media about how it might be his next stop. I mean, do you think that? I think he'll definitely take a hard look at it. I feel like he's done everything in college that you can. I think the only thing he hasn't really done quite yet is like took a powerhouse that, quote unquote powerhouse that they were like in the early 2000s,
Blue chip.
and
Yeah.
bring them back to relevance. What do you think he'll do?
I definitely think he'll bounce back to college, head coach in the ranks somewhere. Just throwing out a couple. I think UFC thing is definitely likely. Florida State possibly. He has that. A lot of the Florida ties. I know they just lost a game that a lot of Florida State people would say they had no business losing in the Jacksonville State.
Yeah,
So I can kind of see that. I know we have joked about this, but if Michigan season were to go completely haywire, I don't think that is completely off the table. I really don't.
yeah,
And I wouldn't be against it. I know we debated on that, but those are some of the places that I think if Michigan season go haywire, I could easily see that popping up. USC big name. Um, that would fit him very well as well. And honestly, he'd probably do very well in college at any of those teams. So,
hmm
uh,
yeah. I think his next step would be like I feel like it'd probably be USC, and I think he'd have to unless you don't love Orgeron, that much. There's always going to be a couple of different hot seats at some of the bigger schools in the SEC. He might come and revisit them, but I mean, USC, that'd be like, I feel like, I mean, he's already up there as some probably one of the greatest football coaches in college, at least in that, in that realm. If he could go to USC and basically, like, they haven't been bad. They just, I mean, their culture just kind of sucks right now. Like, to kind of go in there and, I mean, even get them back to the Rose Bowl, 2 out of 3 years or something. Maybe get them into the playoff once or twice in like 4 or 5 year stretch. Yeah, I think that would be definitely something to add to his resume that kind of like solidify it too.
I agree. I think obviously Ohio State is, even though we hate them, they're kind of the top shelf as far as college football. But this could be just me sounding crazy, but they are not in the same ilk as tradition as far as Michigan. I think if you win a champion, if he did that at Michigan, he would already be viewed as one of the greatest coaches, hands down. If he did that at USC, it would already have happened. It's the fact that you did it in Florida and you did it in Ohio that it's kind of looked at a certain way. I think if he would have done those things at a Michigan, at a Notre Dame, at a USC, at a Texas, it would be already given that he is one of the best.
Yeah,
So that's
that's a
my
good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I just kind of like I was looking at kind of like the Florida was already kind of Florida. You know what I mean? When he got there, he did. I mean, Utah, that was pretty impressive what he was able to even do there with Alex Smith. I mean, I think they like won a Sugar Bowl. Or he's made it to the Sugar Bowl. Ohio State was kind of like they already were who they were when he got there. I think it would be kind of like, he was able to do like the mid major, go to a couple contenders back to back, or powerhouses back to back, and it's like let's see if you can crack the code of what's been wrong with USC. We knew it screwed them over. Let's see if you can like bring them back from the dead, because when they lost all them scholarships or all that Reggie Bush stuff, like I mean, they never recover. They still have yet to recover. So I think it'd be kind of crazy to see if he's able to kind of go in there and put some pieces together. But I agree. I mean, if you're to pull it off at like Michigan and Notre Dame too, that'd be especially like a Notre Dame, especially, you know what I mean? Like obviously they both powerhouse in itself, but like Notre Dame, that'd be kind of nuts.
Agree. Agree. So I think Cameron Taylor with him. I don't know. I
Yeah,
still kind of hate him because of the Ohio State stuff, but I'll be a fool to say he can't coach. So
yeah. Oh yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Yeah, so we're gonna just make a little bit of a change here. We're just gonna talk about some of the games we thought, some of our takeaways from week one of the NFL, essentially. So, thought of some good games overall. I mean, I tried to watch as many as I possibly could. It was just very competitive games. I didn't really see a ton of blowouts, maybe like two or three here or there. Overall, good football. So we both kind of came up with three different takeaways of what we kind of like, what we liked, and what we saw over the past weekend. So, Eli, I'll let you kick it off first. What was one of the first takeaways you had from last week's games?
Yeah, I'm gonna start off with famous Jameis. I think last week we talked about some of the things we were excited on for the season, and I just said that him to kind of get back in the driver's seat of a team and not just a team, a solid team, a team that um, maybe we didn't realize how much Drew Brees have kind of held them back the last couple of years with not being able to, or not a couple of years, but one season last year, with not being able to go as deep as open that offense up as much as they would have liked. So I just think he looked phenomenal. I think for him to have five touchdowns on 14 passes or 14 completions, I mean,
Yeah,
um, looked pretty poised, didn't force the ball any that I seen. I just was generally pretty optimistic about what I seen. Clearly, he's going to have interceptions and mistakes throughout the year, just like everybody does. But I think if we can get that same track record of having more games like this, um, of this ilk, where he's also wasn't same thing we talked about with Tom Brady and Buccaneers last week, as far as them having to pass so much at the start of the year with their offense. Jameis, maybe this is more of what we need, a play action Jameis, not a step back and air raid it out offense. So maybe this is more inducive to what we seen, Heisman Trophy winner type Jameis.
yeah,
So because he didn't. So I just generally thought that was my first takeaway, that he looked phenomenal. I'm excited to see where he can take that team. Defense looks good, couple of good running backs,
yeah,
and he's doing that without their best receiver, one of their best playmakers. So yeah,
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, they definitely looked that offense like it had like a shot in the arm compared to last year. I mean, Drew Brees. I mean, obviously one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game, but he was just checked down city. Like, I mean, Kamara have last few years, he's almost had like 100 receptions out the backfield, just because that was really like all it was him, and then throwing slants to Michael Thomas. I think Jameis, I mean, he threw some. I mean, that ball he threw to number 11, the little receiver, like a 50, 60 yarder. I mean, just right on the money. And we all know how good he was. He won a Heisman, won a national championship in college. I think his development just kind of sitting behind Drew Brees last year, and really just being able to kind of like watch the game and just kind of develop that way. It's tough. I mean, you get drafted. Usually, if you were a Heisman winner, you're drafted like like you were one of the best players in college. You're most likely going number one or like top three overall. So you're going into a pretty bad situation. So I think this is just very telling. Just for that, like move to a team that has a good team, a winning team. He's already been making leaps and bounds. I think he'll definitely have them in the mix a lot more than people would expect.
yeah, no, I agree.
So,
And so that's my first big key takeaway. I'm not sure. I know you
yeah,
have others, Wes. Where you want to take it from here?
yeah. I mine was Jalen Hurts. Just like the performance he had. I mean, he's been one of my favorite players. Um, I just kind of like how he went to Bama, played well there. He got benched. He wasn't, but he didn't like let that like ruin his career and anything like that. He actually ended up finishing up there, graduating. He played at Oklahoma for a year. Came in, there's a lot of questions around like his accuracy and such. They weren't they drafted him. The Eagles obviously drafted him when they had Carson Wentz. But I feel like during the offseason, um, Carson Wentz moved on, and everybody kind of assumed that Hurts was going to be the guy.
Yeah,
And they didn't even name him starter until like after the third preseason game, which I thought was crazy. There ain't no way. I know Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl, but there ain't no way like that team would want Joe Flacco over Jalen Hurts. They want the guy they saw last year. I mean, I've heard his work ethic is crazy. I mean, he's been like stopping receivers in the in the hallway, like quizzing them on different like pass routes and stuff, and just different defenses that they see. I mean, and one thing he always says is like, rent's due every day. So he's coming in every day with the mindset, I gotta earn, what I like yesterday didn't matter, I gotta earn what I gotta earn it today too. And he looked phenomenal. I know the Falcons aren't a great team, but like 300 total yards, 3 touchdowns, like he was really dealing.
yeah. I honestly had kind of forgot about the Oklahoma whole ordeal, where they kind of kicked him out of city and he went to Oklahoma. Yeah, and ultimately that may have helped him
Hmm.
become more of a. I mean, compared to Oklahoma offense to Alabama offense, and that's two different worlds. So I would say, obviously, Alabama's opened it up a lot more over the last couple of years, but they kicked him out of the team for basically not being able to pass, and he went to Oklahoma, one of the most pass-heavy offenses in the country, and led them, to I think the playoffs. So,
Yeah,
that probably helped him kind of get much more confident in being able to step back and throw it, and in different situations to be put in. So, I truly I do like him a lot. I think that's a good call on that one. I'm excited to kind of see what he says. I know last year he had some shaky games as far as like accuracy, like you said, but as
yeah.
far as playmaker ability, not too many more above him. He is
Right.
phenomenal. Yeah, and I
Yeah. Go ahead.
say, and as far as I think if you're a team, I would much rather have I don't know how old he is, probably 24 or something.
Yeah.
Him out there versus a 34-year-old Joe Flacco, where you know what you're going to get from him, which is
Right.
not much. Versus let's roll with this kid who we were not exactly sure, big of a question mark, but could also pay off more for us.
Yeah.
I think
And they drafted one of his teammates first round, so this makes sense,
they had.
And yeah, I think, I mean, like you said, the Oklahoma move was a great one just because he went to, I mean, before he went there, they had Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray both, go number one, both win the Heisman, if I'm not mistaken. So they obviously know what they're doing as far as the quarterback. So I think I definitely helped them out. And last thing I'll add as well is, I mean, he didn't even get like, training camp and everything next year. He's only got like, 4 or 5 games of like real gameplay. So definitely excited to see, once he really gets that playbook down and really gets comfortable, back there. I think he could definitely make the Eagles a lot better than people think they will be this year. But yeah, what's your second topic?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna try to. It's kind of a two-parter, but I'm gonna try to. I know you didn't really want to talk about it, so I'll make it quick. But I'm gonna try to briefly touch on just quarterback play for the Lions versus Rams, and I
Yeah,
would say, even though the Lions came back and it kind of, if you just look at the box score, it looks not that bad. It looks like an 8-point loss or something. I think Jared Goff finished with like 330 passing yards, like third or fourth in the whole NFL. So if you look at a snapshot, you're thinking, hey, that could be optimistic. But if you sat there and watched the game, you would understand just how desperate we really are, and how that is not. And that's probably the worst thing that could have happened to us is coming back in that game, because it's maybe we would have gotten a more better path if it was a 41-7 loss versus a 41-14 loss versus a pretty close game. So
yeah,
I just want to generally just talk about it. The key takeaway is I think we are in a rude awakening this year. I think we're going to begin to realize just how great Stafford is, as far as I think it was his first play or first pass with the Rams was like a 60-yard bomb on a bootleg. So that was more beautiful passing I've seen in all 54 of Jared Goff's passes. So I would say, and
yeah,
on top of that, he at one point in the game, Jared Goff uh, had 30, or no, it was like 40 passes for 170 yards or something ridiculous, where it's just check down city, like you said. And then ultimately, all those yards came when they were playing a prevent defense. So I just want to kind of have a two-parter on. I think we're in a rude awakening, and we'll probably be pushing him out of the starting lineup very very soon and try to be on
yeah,
the quarterback hunt. Spencer Rattler to the Lions. I could see the headlines right now.
yeah. No, I agree. I think, and it's funny to say like that was probably like the kind of the worst case scenarios because I mean I want to add that the 49ers lost their starting running back. They lost at their best DB, like middle of the game. You know what I mean? So it's like they're kind of just playing prevent. They were up 41-17. They're just playing prevent, not letting anything get behind them. It was inevitable that the Lions were going to score.
Yeah.
They had a little mistake where Kittle didn't grab the um, onside kick. So it was like if you saw the score, like compared to like actually watching the game, literally night and day difference.
Yes.
So yeah, I agree with you there for sure. It's gonna be a long season, and I'm not gonna be that 1 o'clock slot if there ain't another game on, probably be trying to find something else to do. So I'm not gonna be sitting there and just watch them get killed like the way they will be this year.
Yeah, agree.
Um, yeah, but yeah. Second topic I wanted to talk about, um, just from my takeaways, is the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs game. I feel like I don't know. This is crazy. Like, I mean, the Browns been so bad. I mean, since we were like just before we were even born.
Yeah.
So I don't. I mean, I don't. I can't. I mean, they had like Jim Brown back in the day. Um, that was that's like 50, 60, 70 years ago. Um, so it was very interesting. Like you seeing them like in that 4 o'clock afternoon slot. You know what I'm saying? They came out firing, went down the field, scored in the first drive, went for two, ended up getting it.
Shocking. Yeah.
Yeah, just was. I mean, they're ready. They're ready for war, and they had them on the ropes. But Kansas City. I mean, we watched Kansas City be down. They were down like what 35-14 to the Texans in like the divisional championship a couple years back. They were down like 14 to the Titans in the conference championship a couple years back.
I mean, they're probably the most explosive offense in NFL history, like consistently, year over year. They're like
when they're down 14, it feels tied. Like, because there's not even really like I feel like they just play around so much too. Like it's not. I mean, obviously they're out there like executing things like that, but some of the stuff like Mahomes like falling out of bounds, throwing that ball, to Tyreek Hill, like sideways, getting hit, and a man's caught it and just ran in, like, and obviously the Browns did a couple things in that game that didn't help them. I mean, they were up 29-20, and their punter came out for the first time the whole game, muffed the punt, gave the Chiefs the ball back on the 10-yard line, so now it's 29-27. Chiefs hit the ball back, score again. It's 33-29. Baker threw a pick. He played a great game too, but that just kind of shows like they're. I think if they had OBJ healthy, I think they might win that game because they had a rookie running around out there that was pretty fast and had a couple of big plays to start the game off. But there's also some plays where they targeted him and he didn't run a route correctly or just wasn't really able to get open. OBJ, I mean, I think they definitely would have, been a lot. They probably would have won that game. And I don't know, it's impressive to see Cleveland. I mean, the NFC North, or excuse me, the AFC North. I mean, they kind of been the dumpster fire, like bottom of the barrel for so long. I mean, I picked them to win a division because I literally feel like they're heads and shoulders better than everybody else in that division right now. So yeah, what do you think?
I remember you picked them last week, and I just not sold on Baker. Obviously, the team is loaded. Like I think you put Lamar Jackson on that team, probably going to the Super Bowl. Like I think I think they are loaded. Offensively, defensively, running backs, like they're pretty solid. Like,
it's like why don't teams do like this more? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't know. I know salary cap and all that stuff coming into place, but it's like, look what they did. I mean, they're gonna be solid.
Yeah, no, they're obviously gonna be solid. I just think that game, if I'm not mistaken, they had a chance to go back and take the lead again at the end of the game, and the Baker throw the pick. Was that the last drive? Yeah,
like a minute left in the fourth. Yeah.
So I would say that's just. I mean, obviously I'm a little hard on. That's just a young quarterback, young mistakes. Yeah. Probably should just tuck it and see what you can do, or take the sack, or tuck it and get 2 or 3 yards, and live to play another day, another down. But they are more formidable than I thought. But they're only going to go as far as he can take them. Yeah, because ultimately the rest of the team is loaded, and if they can't do it, it's on him. I think so. It's going to be. I think it's going to be an interesting season because I think a lot is on him this year, where he came in firing, and then he had the down year, and then he had the up year again last year, and then now. So are you going to be one of them guys where it's like a roller coaster where we're bouncing back and forth between Pro Bowl type year and bottom of the barrel quarterbacks? So it's a big feast of famine with him, but. Yeah, no, I am excited to see what they can do. I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones on that squad. Big fan of him. Been a fan of his since he's been like 17. So
he wasn't out there much. Like I thought, because when OBJ went down last year, like he was kind of the guy the opposite side of Landry. And his guy, I mean, the guy was good. Anthony Schwartz. He's a rookie from like Auburn. He's like a track star. Fast. Like he had a couple great plays, but there was definitely some plays where I'm like. I know OBJ wasn't there. I was kind of surprised not even see Peoples Jones out there either. But yeah, like you said, overall, real solid squad. But yeah, what was your next topic?
My final takeaway from this is just how good of a damn coach Mike Tomlin is, and I would say, you know, he's been the coach of that team going on like 14, 15 years now. Somewhere around that ballpark, I would say he's just a phenomenal coach. Last year they had no business being as good as they were. Injuries throughout the team, and they were 8-8. This year, everybody's saying put a fork in them. Ben is done. The defense is going to be solid, but they don't have nothing else, and they go out there and beat a team that's a Super Bowl heavy favorite, or to get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, so I would say that alone just lets me know that he's came to play this year.
Yeah.
If you even look at the box score, just the stats, they don't really look like they should have won that game. Najee Harris didn't have that great of a game. Ben even didn't have that great of a game. So it just shows just how much of a grind out. I don't know, grind out, work on to just out coach and strategic you and win this. They had no business winning that game. I can't drawing a blank on my man's name. Josh Allen just signed a $250 million contract here. He was supposed to come out in firing and swinging. It just didn't happen. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. So I think that the Steelers. I mean, I do love Mike Tomlin. Never had a losing season in his whole career, which I think is crazy. I do think that the offense is going to start to sputter a little bit. They just don't. I'm not crazy about like Juju Smith-Schuster and what's my other man's name? The guy that other dude that be dancing all the time. Chase Claypool.
I like him. But yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Mapletron? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just when they were all the stuff they was doing last year, it's kind of like in their offense, like it sputtered a lot last year. I do think it'll be helpful if they do run Najee Harris how I think they should have. I feel like he's gonna be like Le'Veon Bell without the rap career, essentially. Just gonna really be able to come like plug in and be essentially what Le'Veon was. Le'Veon was great. Not to like take anything away from him. I think he's gonna be that and could definitely be more. And definitely gonna give them a little bit of a shot in the arm as far as just the offense. But we'll see though with them. I think that the defense is always gonna be like they always got a top 10 defense. That defense was going nuts this past Sunday.
And I'm not saying pencil them in for the Super Bowl or the playoffs, maybe even because they're in a very tough division. But I would say you put them in the only reason they probably won't make the playoffs is because the division they're in, not because of the lack of how good they are. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. You throw them in a different division, they're dominating you. Yeah. I just think they're happy to be stuck in a division with a couple of good young guns that are trying to break through, and Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson, and even I don't think they're going to be here, but even Cincy, maybe a few years from now. Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hard on Juju Smith-Schuster because I'm like you're a Baker. I'm not a big fan of Juju. I don't know, but
I'm perfectly fine with that. He clearly, as soon as AB left, that he showed that he wasn't the number one that he thought he was. So
right.
I think you should keep your eye on that Chase Claypool. I think he's a real deal.
Yeah, he went great. Yeah. Mapletron is a good nickname for him. It's a good little semi comparison.
He in the ilk of that DJ Metcalf, just
Mike Evans.
Yeah, just big ass target receivers who I've always loved. So
yeah, I think he super raw. You know what I'm saying? Like, route running ain't crazy, but like he got the athleticism. I mean, he caught some great balls this past Sunday that needed to in the clutch time. So he'll be solid for sure. My last one is Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, man. I mean, I feel like obviously they didn't know they're gonna have all these injuries like a week or two before the season started. I am kind of just like was kind of wondering or waiting or maybe assuming that they might try to, make a trade for somebody, a different weapon, or to kind of find a way. I mean, I know they brought in a lot of like these older, kind of like washed up backs,
Yeah.
um, that might be okay game to game. Le'Veon is there, on a practice squad right now. I think they picked up him, Devontae Freeman, and Latavius Murray. I think Murray's the one that actually played or this past Monday. But what's crazy to me was just like, I mean, they went from possibly winning that division to 9-8, 10-7, unless they get him Lamar some help.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't, and I feel like it's not even really getting talked about enough. They traded their best, like one of their best tackles, to the Chiefs and
Yes.
couldn't beat the Chiefs, like up till now. And now they got to play them Sunday night, and it's literally the tale of two. The Chiefs. I mean, they used to pick up where they left off last year. And I mean, the Ravens, and they played fine. They definitely were in a position to win that game. But I mean, the Chiefs are a way better team than the Raiders are. So
I agree.
I'll just kind of, yeah. I
What did
mean,
they get for him?
huh?
Do you remember what they got for that tackle? Like I remember that happening, and you texted me about it. I forgot until you said it this week.
I think it was a 2022 first round pick or something like that, or a second round pick. I'm not totally sure. I guess I could look it up real quick, but
And also,
I don't.
clarifying, it's something that's not going to pay off in the immediate term. Like I mean, so
Yeah,
I just feel like, and not to hijack your thing here, but I agree with you. I think they got to get him some help. And there's far too often, and he's not. Ultimately, what's going to happen is he won't get paid his proper compensation because, oh well, he only had 22 touchdown passes and 12 picks. Yeah, but you had him out there with nobody. So
yeah,
if you would give him the equivalent of what Baker has or what Mahomes has or Russell Wilson or whoever you want to name. He hasn't, further down the list. I mean, you could start to pick middle of the road teams that they don't have better position guys around.
yeah.
That's yeah, they have to do something.
Right. I mean, I feel
Like
like
Vic when he only had Algie Crumpler. Like, I mean, come on, there's somebody else. All right, let's help him here. Like, let's
right,
yeah,
and it's like, and I'm looking at it, it's like I can see if it's okay. You got a couple guys, hamstring, calf muscle, not, separated shoulder, not looking the great. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, man, like these guys are on IR. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, even they draft that rookie Rashad Bateman, like he can't play at least for like 5, 6, 7 weeks.
right.
So it's like you gotta, I mean, give up a second, third rounder and go grab somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, they do that. They got a solid tight end. I just don't think Hollywood Brown is ever gonna be a number one. So you can't really rely on him to, be like that guy to get you 10 catches.
Now I agree. Now I do think he's great,
Yeah,
but I think he is a 1B or some a 2A. He's not like I think
yeah,
if you had somebody that was a real one with him, he would be so much better.
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So it
oh
would.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And he definitely got the game. I mean, we've seen him do it. He's 4.4, 4.3 speed. He definitely can play. I mean, I've just seen him in things like his third year, and it's like, you know, not a physical. You know what I mean? He just kind of he'll be there and kind of disappear. Like it's not really all that consistent with him. So, but yeah, I do hope that like I said, these injuries aren't a month long. These guys are out either for the whole season or at least like a good 5 to 6, 7 weeks. So I hope they kind of find a way to. That tackle went down, if I'm not mistaken, in the game.
The game.
I don't know what happened to him
It looked
exactly.
bad though. He got carted off, which is
Yeah,
never.
anytime somebody like not walking off on their own power, that's it's kind of frustrating though, because like I said, for Lamar, you see Mahomes get his money. I mean, you've seen
Josh Allen.
Allen get his money. I mean that, and he was in the same draft as Baker, and he went one, or Baker went one. He went like what 30th, 31st,
Baker
and
ain't extension, has he?
huh?
Baker hasn't got an extension yet, has he?
Not yet, not yet. But it's like, I mean, I just hope that, like you said, I hope he don't lose out on money just because it's one of the things like, what have you done for me lately? If the Browns mess around and win a division and go like the divisional round or the AFC Championship, and Lamar sitting at home,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
50 million off
it's,
the top. Yeah.
yeah, like that's something he gonna lose out on. So I just hope that they, get that team back to somewhat full strength, just to like at least give him a chance, because we see, I mean, what he can do with no help. I mean, if you can give him, get a couple bodies in there to, kind of at least take the load off of him a little bit. Um, yeah, I mean, they got to figure out something for sure, else they're gonna miss the playoffs.
Should have kept Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, trade him a fourth round pick for him, bring him back.
Yeah.
Like instead of, I mean, Le'Veon ain't played in 2 years. Devontae Freeman really, like, he had that one good year at Atlanta when they blew that lead to the New England. He ain't been the same since. So I don't know. I feel like it'd probably be more valuable to take a fourth or fifth round pick and go grab a back that's been consistently playing.
Yeah.
You know,
Ingram had, I mean, obviously Ben may not do that, but Ingram had 84 yards this week, and
yeah,
y'all could have used that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
saved $4 million.
yeah. I will say they did have a nice little. I think his name was like Tyrell Williams. He had a nice little game. He did okay, but like
That touchdown he had was nice. He high stepped him at the, like on like the 10 or something. Yeah, that was
fourth and one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they, I mean, they got, but that ain't like they ain't gonna be enough.
Not when you're trying to win rings and championship
Right.
or divisions. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, 'cause I want. I mean, I'm concerned about him being protected. You know what I'm saying? Like, he start pressing. He got to start running more. All that's gonna lead to is injuries and turnovers.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, definitely some good takeaways for this last first week of the NFL. I'm definitely expecting a good season this year. Got anything else for the people?
No, sir. I appreciate everybody tuning back in. We'll be back at it next week. Another week of football here, both college and pros. Just try to be back at it on Wednesday.
Yep. See you guys next time.